And when we walked inside, his sister flew at us with a sheath of paper. I've been reading your manuscript, and it's all the same page, Buck. You write the same page over and over. This jerk's nothing but a fraud, Louie. Now, what she claimed wasn't strictly true. I, changed an adjective here and there and moved paragraphs and characters around. But those pearl beers were slowing my momentum. And I tried to explain that to Louie, but he left in a huff, leaving me to deal with his loony family. And the way they carried on, you'd think he was giving me $50 a day. I finally couldn't take it anymore. I went out for some cocktails. Now, I didn't return until nearly 2 a.m. Certain Louie and Claire would be asleep. And so I was utterly unprepared for what greeted me, which was a naked Claire bound to the bed by wire and covered with what were now mostly melted ice cubes. Now, there's awkward situations, and then there's really awkward ones, I thought, what's protocol here? Is this torture? Some kind of weird sexual practice? Or both? And more importantly, did I want to know? In the end, I thought, I'll just leave these people to their business. And I said, well, good night, Claire, and started to edge around the bed, and she yelled, cut me loose, you fucking drunk Pock! I'm freezing to death here. So, there were wire cutters next to the bed, and, I cut her loose and watched as she ran, trembling and embarrassed, to the bathroom. And, I thought, it's a full-time job, being married to a madman. I meant to console her afterwards, but, passed out instead. And the next thing I knew, the sun was coming up, and she was shaking me awake. And she said, get up, Pock. I want to show you how crazy Louie really is. As if I needed convincing. So I groaned and rolled over. I said, fuck that, I've seen enough. And she responded by slapping my cheek. And that sat me up, And then she handed me a 6-pack of Pearl and said, here, I packed you a breakfast. So she drove me to the park in her